The fact is, the story around Saracens this week has been about the salary cap. Just to remind you how the salary cap regulations absolutely look, these are the headlines from it. It is 7 million. It increased from 6.5 in 2017. And here are all the different ways you can kind of spend a bit more. There are homegrown player credits. There are obviously marquee players. Just have a read through that yourself, and you can kind of figure it all out, that it isn't that straightforward. It's a difficult one for Premiership Rugby as well, and a lot of people are saying this week, why don't Premiership Rugby just come out with a statement saying we're investigating what we saw in the Daily Mail? Well, the fact is Premiership Rugby are in a confidentiality agreement with all the clubs, Benny, so they can't actually say anything until they have facts or until action is going to be taken. They have a salary cap manager, and any issues or any suspicions go through him. He goes to an independent body, and the independent body look at those situations, and if there's something to be looked at or investigated, they will do something about it, and then we hear about it. So Premiership Rugby, in their defence, can't actually say an awful lot at this stage, can they?
I think it's very difficult. The problem with the salary cap, and I'm a big supporter of it, I think it's a great tool for keeping finances in check and stopping a rogue owner sort of paying too much, which then everyone else has to pick up. But the problem was, it's very difficult to enforce. It's a little bit like, you put those rules in. Take the suspicions that people have about drugs in athletics. If someone's doing particularly well, everyone's saying, well, is he? We know there's a drugs problem in sport. Is he doing well? It's a little bit like that with Saracens. They have a very, very good squad, and the suspicions from fans, from other people involved in clubs is that they're not doing it by the book. But it's very, very difficult to prove that. Now, Saracens have said, look, this is how we're doing it. We got the extra credits. There are other ways you can attract players to stay with you for maybe less money than they would at other clubs. If you're successful, you might want to stay at that club to win trophies. You can throw whatever you want educationally at them. You can spend whatever you want on education. You can take them on holiday to the Munich Beer Festival and make it that it's a training session, or to Bermuda. So there are other ways. A creche, that sort of thing. Farley House for Bath, that's an attractive proposition. So I don't know. I know Nigel Ray, and I think he's an honourable man, but I don't know whether they are. The difficulty is, how do you prove it? Even if you make everyone's wages and salary open and transparent, which has been one of the suggestions, if you want to cheat it, there are ways that people can get around that by declaring some of the income and the other income's hidden somewhere else. So it's a very difficult problem why the salary cap doesn't necessarily work as a full stop, but what it does stop is people getting too far ahead. A little bit like the drugs cheats. If they start winning by half a second, then actually people are going to start questioning whether something untoward's happening. But if it's just a little bit, then that suspicion will just arise.
And that's kind of what we've seen so far when clubs are fined, because at the end of the season, this independent body look at the books, they look at the transfer values, make sure it's all stayed within the remit. I guess in this case, people are asking, is it okay for a club owner to have a company with the player? How do we know whether the player and the club owner are 50-50 in that company? Is that all legit?
It's none of our business, to be perfectly honest, is it? It's not their
salary cap business, though.
No, I don't think it is. I just think I applaud Saracens for what they're doing. They're creating lots and lots of young talent. They're finding ways to keep that talent at their club for a really long period of time. And you want that, because when you go to negotiate a contract, or you go to join a club, or you're thinking about a professional rugby career, you sit down with the owner and you talk about loyalty, and you talk about this two-way street of loyalty. That loyalty has really been shown by Nigel Ray by going into business, and we saw a few in the Mail, a few that were mentioned, the big names, but there's other things that this club does with players, gets them started in a coffee business that we know about, in a variety of beer businesses that we know about, and they do help them for a long period of time. And I think it's brilliant. You rock up and you say, I'm going to commit to you, and this is the way we're going to do it. Shock horror, clubs are becoming inventive in how to keep their players and entice players. I think Saracens done a great job. Well done.
I thought you'd come out with something that controversial, but a lot of people are upset about it. If you are upset and you have information, Premiership Rugby want whistleblowers to come in there and they'll pass it on to the independent body and do something about it. And, people have been upset. I think Conor O'Shea, your old boss, he used to get very upset about salary cap, didn't he?
Yeah, I think a few years ago, maybe one of the reasons Conor decided to leave Quins and leave the Premiership was because he felt maybe something was swept under the carpet that happened a few years ago. Look, we don't know the full facts and figures. We don't know if it's anything out of the ordinary that shouldn't be done. All you know is you've got some pretty fantastic Saracens players there, and there's some guys who are going to be wanting a lot of money, but obviously they have produced an awful lot of brilliant England players. So you know, they deserve their success. They're the guys that are flying the flag for both domestically and European. They're a pretty good team. It's just all players want is a level playing field.